Did you know your alignment has not one, but two parts to it? Hello everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. And it's true, I tell you, the alignment has two parts to it. Every character has two fundamental governing aspects that cover the overall majority of their moral outlook on the world. Now, what that means for us, though, when it comes to playing these characters, whether we're DMing different characters or the players are running their own characters, is that you have some choices to make there. And they're interesting choices that can add yet another layer of diversity and nuance amongst the myriad number of characters that are created. Let's take a lawful good character, for example. And this is a point I've made in comments on previous videos. It's a lawful good character. They have the two components there. They're lawful in their outlook and they're good. The lawful part means they obey the law, they depend on and utilize the power structure. The power structure being the legal, political, etc., that kind of a framework. The legal framework, the political superstructure, all of those different things. That all comes together to form the lawful outlook that they have. And the good aspect for the character means that they are generally kind, helpful, they try to do the right thing, they don't go out of their way to inflict harm on others. In fact, they may even go out of their way to do good and do right by others, to help others through whatever trials and difficulties they may be facing. So you put those two things together. This is a person who will obey the law. If they're in a position of power, they will try to be flexible within the bounds of the law towards the point of trying to be good. They will try to protect people. If somebody, say, has committed an offense, but they're a first-time offender and their reasons were, well, I stole bread because my family is starving. I didn't see what choice I had. And a lawful good arbiter overseeing that kind of a case might go, you know what? I understand you still broke the law, but we're not going to cut off your hand here. You're going to go. You're going to be sentenced to go and work for the person, work off your debt, and you know what? Maybe if you do well enough, we can see about making sure that you have a job there, so that way you have at least a steady access of some kind of coin and some food as well, which solves several problems right there. It solves the person's need for theft. It takes care of the person who was stolen from. The punishment is not overly cruel or exacting, even though the law may have allowed for that. And they solve the future problem by making sure that the person, or giving the person at least a better chance at getting some kind of a work, food, and money, negating their need to steal in the future, ideally. But the thing that we come to with the fact that there are two parts to the alignment is the player can decide which part of the alignment takes more priority for the character. Are they more good rather than lawful? Do they desire to do good? And sometimes that chafes with their belief that having a legal framework is the best way of protecting and preserving society and helping the greatest number of people possible. Or are they more lawful, believing that the law needs to be obeyed and provides the framework necessary for people to be good? Because, well, the basis of all law and justice is some form of retribution or recompense, some means of the punishment is the means of exacting some measure of justice and trying to extract some measure of remuneration, of easing some of the pains and hurts or whatever liabilities may have come about by somebody committing a crime or breaking the law. And if they're more lawful, and if they emphasize more on that lawful aspect, that means that they genuinely believe that that framework is necessary to achieve all that good. And that also means that they are more likely to take a much longer term view than maybe somebody who is more focused on being good. that trait is not necessarily exclusive to a lawful mindset, but that kind of long-term thinking certainly seems to be something that would fit better within that kind of a preparedness, thinking ahead mindset, planning things out. So how would that affect gameplay? Well, using again an example I've used with lawful good characters, say we have a situation where there's a major confrontation with a villain. This has been a recurring villain. They have a chance at actually capturing this person and bringing them to justice, but to get away, they cause a series of explosions that cause fires, and several innocents are about to be harmed. Buildings are burning and they're going to go up in flames, and the occupants are in very grave danger of perishing in those flames. The lawful good character will have two choices. Somebody who has emphasized good over the lawful part of their alignment will be more likely to stay and try to help the innocents, potentially letting the villain escape. They'll help those innocents escape because they can't stand idly by and allow them to perish because they weren't able to prevent the villain from causing that kind of harm. So they will help the people escape the flames. The lawful good character who is more focused on the law, on the legal aspect, will think this person needs to be brought to justice immediately, and if I don't do it now, they'll only have more opportunity to do this again. They'll harm even more innocent people. They need to be stopped now. This has to end now, and they'll pursue the villain, potentially leaving several people to die in the flames. Now, that's a situation where the choice is incredibly hard, and that's the kind of choice you should throw at your players to test them to see where they go. Neither choice is necessarily evil, but one choice is definitely more in the good category, and the other one is more in the lawful category. And by pressing on those points, you can cause a character's alignment to shift as they change over time. Because the character who decides to chase down the villain and bring them back to justice, that's more lawful. They may become more dispassionate over time because they have to harden themselves against the fact that sometimes in pursuit of justice, in trying to maintain the law and prevent future harm and maintain that stability and that structure and framework, that means sometimes innocents will have to be hurt. They will end up sacrificed in a sense. They will be hurt over the course of their duties, and so they toughen themselves up against it, and they become more dispassionate. They become more level-headed, even thinkers. They don't allow the emotions to influence them. They don't allow that drive to do good to hold that much more sway over them. So on the good and evil axis, they begin to shift more towards neutral and become lawful neutral. Whereas vice versa, the lawful good character who begins emphasizing good over law, and they're stopping more to immediately help people while they're not necessarily breaking the law is clearly less important to them. And if they keep acting that way, they can very easily begin to see the law as less and less useful. Not that it doesn't have its uses, but that it's a secondary thing when it comes to helping people and making sure people are okay and doing well. So, on the law versus chaos axis, they can begin shifting over to neutral good. They still see the law as beneficial and it has its uses and its time and place, but that's a secondary thing. So, this is another way for us, both as players and DMs, for us to start creating these unique characters and having these unique interactions and longer overall character arcs as these characters grow, develop, and change over time. And this can reflect a wide array of different personalities, and this is a great way to mark a character's growth, and it's something that you should very much use if alignment is going to be something that you pay attention to, which generally you should, if for no other reason than, a lawful good paladin trying to use smite evil who's regularly stealing and murdering for no reason should lose access to that. But it's still a good storytelling mechanic, and that's what it should be. It should be used to tell a good story, not something to beat the players over the head with and punish them needlessly, but tell a good story with it. But that's just one DM's thoughts. I am, of course, only but a single lore master, no matter how experienced or graying I may be becoming. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Have I covered this pretty well? Have I given you something new and useful to consider and make use of? Or am I just entirely losing the plot overall? Go on down there and let me know, and let's engage in discussion. Hit the like button or dislike, and if you haven't done so already, be a most excellent person and go on down there and hit that subscribe button. Become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. But with that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.